Jake Miller stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around the massive space station. Kepler Station was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen back on Earth. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow with a soft blue light. Strange symbols covered the walls, and Jake could hear voices speaking in languages that sounded nothing like anything from his home planet. He carried a simple backpack with his few belongings. The other passengers getting off the shuttle looked nothing like humans. Some walked on 4 legs, others had scales instead of skin, and one looked like it was made entirely of crystal. Jake tried not to stare, but it was hard. He had studied alien species in school, but seeing them in person was completely different. A voice came from speakers hidden in the ceiling. All new students report to Hall 7 for orientation. Follow the green lights on the floor. Jake looked down and saw green lights blinking in a path along the floor. He followed them, walking behind a group of other students who were clearly as new as he was. They all looked nervous, even the ones with sharp teeth and claws. The hall was enormous. Hundreds of students sat in rows of seats that seemed to adjust to fit each different body type. Jake found an empty seat and sat down. The chair shifted and moved until it fit him perfectly. The student next to him looked like a giant lizard with bright red scales. When Jake nodded hello, the lizard student hissed softly and looked away. The door at the front of the hall opened, and the largest creature Jake had ever seen walked in. It stood at least 9 feet tall and looked like a mix between a dragon and a crocodile. Its dark green scales looked thick as armor, and its yellow eyes scanned the room like it was looking for prey. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough. "I am Commander Zethkar. For the next 4 years I will be your primary instructor. Most of you will not survive that long." The room became completely silent. Jake felt his heart beating faster. "This is the Galactic Defense Institute. We train the finest military officers in the galaxy. We take only the best from the strongest species. We take only those who have proven they can survive anything." Commander Zethkar walked slowly across the front of the room. His claws clicked on the metal floor with each step. "You are here because your worlds are dangerous. You are here because your species is tough. You are here because normal training would be too easy for you." Jake shifted in his seat. He was starting to wonder if there had been some kind of mistake. Earth was not really that dangerous, was it? Now we will begin introductions. Each of you will stand, state your name, your species, and your homeworld. You will also tell us what makes your world dangerous enough to produce warriors like yourselves. The commander pointed to a student in the front row. The student stood up. It looked like a rock with arms and legs. But when it spoke, its voice was clear. "I am Granite Singer Kolmar of the Silthari. I come from Thermus Prime, where the surface temperature reaches 300 degrees and the ice never melts because it is made of frozen methane. The air would burn the lungs of most species and the ground would melt their feet." "Good," said Commander Zethkar. "Next." A blue-skinned student with gills on its neck stood up. "I am Deep Current Gloob of the Morden. I come from Abyssos, where I lived 3 miles below the ocean surface. The pressure there would crush most beings instantly, and no light has ever reached my home." Jake listened as student after student described worlds that sounded like nightmares. Planets with gravity so strong that it would flatten a human instantly. Worlds where acid rain fell from poisonous skies. Places where the plants were carnivorous and the animals were worse. Then Commander Zethkar pointed at Jake. "You, human, stand." Jake stood up slowly. Every eye in the room was on him. "I am Jake Miller. I am human, and I come from Earth. And what makes Earth dangerous enough to produce a warrior? Human Jake Miller." Jake thought about his answer. Compared to the worlds he had just heard about, Earth seemed pretty normal. "Well, sir, Earth is not really that dangerous. It is actually pretty nice most of the time. We have good weather, lots of water, and plenty of food. I guess the worst things we have are maybe some storms and wild animals, but most people never really have problems with those." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Jake heard whispers starting. Students were turning to look at each other and then back at him. The whispers grew louder. Commander Zethkar raised a hand and the room became quiet again. "A garden world," he said, and Jake could hear something like surprise in his voice. "How interesting. How did a species from a garden world score high enough on our entrance exams to be accepted here? Jake felt his face getting red. I do not know, sir. I just studied hard and did my best. Commander Zethkar made a note on a tablet he was carrying. We shall see. Human Jake Miller from the Garden World Earth. We shall see if your soft world has made you as soft as I suspect. The introductions continued, but Jake could feel eyes on him for the rest of the session. When the commander finally dismissed them, Jake gathered his things and headed for the door. As he walked, he heard students talking behind him. A Garden World human, one of them said. This should be interesting. He will not last a week, said another. The first simulation will send him crying home to his safe little planet. Jake kept walking, but he could not help smiling a little. If only they knew about hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, sharks, bears, and all the other things that Earth had to offer. Maybe his home world was not as safe as he had made it sound. Maybe they were all in for a surprise. The next morning, Jake woke up in his small room to the sound of loud alarms. Red lights flashed on the walls and a voice spoke from hidden speakers. All students report to Training Bay 5 immediately. First survival simulation begins in 10 minutes. Jake quickly put on the training uniform that had been left for him. It was made of some kind of material that felt both light and strong. He ran down the hallway, following the crowd of other students who were all hurrying toward the training bay. Training Bay 5 was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see it. In the center of the room was a large metal chamber with thick glass walls. Through the glass, Jake could see what looked like a rocky landscape with orange and red ground. Heat waves shimmered in the air inside the chamber. Commander Zethkar stood next to the chamber. His yellow eyes looked at each student as they gathered around him. Today you will face your first test. This simulation recreates the surface of Vulcan 7, one of the harshest volcanic worlds in the galaxy. The temperature inside reaches 150 degrees. The air is thick with sulfur gas. The ground will burn through weak boots in minutes. Jake looked at the other students. Some of them looked worried, but others seemed excited. The crystal student named Kexalon was actually glowing brighter than usual. You will enter in groups of 5. Your task is simple. Survive for 1 hour. Find the 3 supply caches hidden in the terrain. Work together or work alone, but do not fail. Those who fail will be sent home tomorrow. Commander Zethkar pointed to the first group. Kexalon, Gluub, Threxmol, Vexani Warrior, and Human Jake Miller. You are first. Jake felt his stomach drop. He was going first, and he was grouped with some of the toughest-looking students in the class. Threxmol was the tall warrior who looked like he could break Jake in half. The Vexani student had thick gray skin and muscles that bulged even through the training uniform. The 5 students entered the chamber through a heavy door. As soon as Jake stepped inside, he felt the heat hit him like a wall. It was like opening an oven door, but much worse. The air was so hot it hurt to breathe, and he could taste sulfur on his tongue. Stay close to me, soft world human, said Threxmol. I will try to keep you alive long enough for the simulation to end. Jake wiped sweat from his forehead and looked around. The landscape was all rocks and small hills. Steam rose from cracks in the ground, and the air shimmered with heat. In the distance, he could see what might be one of the supply caches. They started walking across the rocky ground. Kexalon seemed completely comfortable. His crystal body was actually glowing brighter in the heat, like he was enjoying it. Gluub was breathing hard, and Jake could see that the aquatic alien was struggling with the dry air. This heat is barely tolerable, said Kexalon as they climbed over a ridge of rocks. I can manage it, but it is at the edge of my comfort zone. Jake was sweating heavily, but he was surprised to find that he was not in as much trouble as he had expected. It is pretty hot, he said, but it reminds me of Death Valley back home. My family went there on vacation when I was 15. It got up to about this temperature during the day. The other students stopped walking and stared at Jake. What did you say? Asked Threxmol. Death Valley. It is a place on Earth. It gets really hot there, sometimes even hotter than this. People go there for fun. My dad said it was character building. Kexalon was staring at Jake with his glowing crystal eyes. You are saying that beings on your world voluntarily go to places with this temperature for recreation? Sure. Lots of people do it. There are hiking trails and everything. My sister Lisa goes camping there sometimes. She says the sunsets are beautiful. Your sister, said Gluub slowly, goes camping in temperatures that would kill most species in the galaxy. Jake shrugged. Well, she brings lots of water and sunscreen. You have to be careful about heat stroke. The group started walking again, but Jake noticed they were all looking at him differently now. They found the first supply cache near a bubbling pool of what looked like liquid rock. Inside the cache were water containers and cooling packs. As they continued searching for the other caches, Jake started talking about other things from Earth. He mentioned how his brother Sam liked to go running even when it was really hot outside. He told them about how construction workers and firefighters worked in extreme heat all the time. Firefighters? Asked Vexani Warrior. They fight fire? Yes. When buildings catch fire, they run inside to save people. They wear special suits, but they still have to deal with temperatures way hotter than this. They run toward fire, said Threxmol. On purpose. Someone has to do it. People need help. By the time they found the third supply cache, Jake was no longer the weakest member of the group. Gluub was suffering badly in the dry heat, and even Threxmol was showing signs of stress. Only Kexalon seemed truly comfortable, and Jake was doing better than most. When the hour was up and they exited the chamber, Commander Zethkar was waiting with his tablet. He looked at Jake with those yellow eyes. Interesting performance, human Jake Miller. You exceeded expectations. Jake nodded and tried to catch his breath in the cooler air of the training bay. Tell me, said the commander, what other recreational activities do humans enjoy on your garden world? Jake thought about it. Well, my cousin Amy likes rock climbing, and my Uncle Pete goes cave diving in underwater caves. Oh, and my friend Ryan actually chases tornadoes in his truck. He says it is exciting. The commander's pen stopped moving on his tablet. Chases tornadoes? Yes, sir. They are like big spinning storms that can destroy houses. But Ryan has special equipment and knows how to stay safe, mostly. Jake noticed that all the students from the other groups had stopped talking and were listening to him. Even the ones who had not gone into the simulation yet were staring. Commander Zethkar made more notes on his tablet. I see. Human Jake Miller. I think we need to have a longer conversation about your homeworld very soon. Jake wondered what the big deal was. Earth was just Earth. But from the way everyone was looking at him, he was starting to think that maybe his home was not as normal as he had always believed. 3 days later, Jake sat in his xenobiology class listening to Professor Yilnara explain different types of planets. The professor was old, even by alien standards. Her skin was pale blue and covered with wrinkles, and she moved slowly but spoke with great knowledge about the galaxy. The classroom was smaller than the training bay, with curved walls covered in screens showing pictures of different worlds. Jake recognized some of them from the stories his classmates had told during orientation. There were ice worlds, gas worlds, and worlds covered in nothing but rocks and lava. Today we will discuss planetary classification systems, said Professor Yilnara. Her voice was soft but clear. Every world in the galaxy is given a rating based on how dangerous it is for life to exist there. She touched a button on her desk, and the wall screens showed a chart with different colored sections. Class 1 worlds are garden worlds. Perfect. Temperature, clean air, gentle weather, safe plants and animals. Very few worlds qualify as Class 1. Most intelligent species dream of retiring to a Class 1 world. Jake looked at the pictures of Class 1 worlds. They looked a lot like Earth, with blue skies, green plants, and calm oceans. Class 5 worlds are considered harsh but livable. Perhaps the gravity is a bit strong, or the weather changes quickly, or there are some dangerous animals. Most of you come from Class 5 or 6 worlds. The pictures changed to show worlds that looked more challenging. Jake saw planets with purple skies, strange plants, and rocky terrain. Class 10 worlds are extremely dangerous. Very few species can survive on them. The environment itself tries to kill anything that lives there. Now the pictures showed worlds that looked like nightmares. acid rain, poisonous air, ground that glowed with radiation. And finally, said Professor Yilnara, we have the theoretical Class 12 worlds. We call these death worlds. Most scientists believe that complex life cannot evolve on a Class 12 world, and that intelligent life is completely impossible. She paused and looked around the room. A death world has extreme weather that changes without warning, massive storms that can destroy entire cities, natural disasters that reshape continents, dangerous animals that hunt in packs, poisonous plants and toxic water, radiation from space, unstable ground that moves and shakes. Jake raised his hand. Several students turned to look at him. Yes, human Jake Miller. What makes a world get classified as a death world? I mean, what exact things have to be there? Professor Yilnara smiled. An excellent question. A death world must have at least 8 of the following conditions. She touched her controls, and a list appeared on the screens. Extreme weather systems that can kill large numbers of beings quickly. Natural disasters that happen regularly. Predatory animals larger than the intelligent species. Poisonous or venomous creatures. Toxic elements in the air or water. Dangerous radiation levels. Unstable geology. Disease-causing organisms. Temperature ranges that vary by more than 50 degrees. And natural phenomena that can strike without warning. Jake nodded thoughtfully. Earth has all of those things. The classroom became very quiet. Professor Yilnara stared at Jake. What did you say? Earth. My home world. It has all of those things you mentioned. That is impossible, said Kexalon from his seat near the front. You said Earth was a garden world. I never said that, replied Jake. Commander Zethkar called it a garden world. I just said it was pretty nice most of the time. Professor Yilnara sat down slowly in her chair. Human Jake Miller, please describe these conditions on your world. Jake thought about where to start. Well, we have hurricanes that can flatten entire cities. They happen every year. People know they are coming, but sometimes they do not leave because they want to protect their homes. You have regular destructive storms, said the professor, making notes, and tornadoes. Those are like spinning columns of wind that can pick up houses and throw them around. My friend Ryan actually drives toward them to take pictures. He says it is fun. Gluub made a gurgling sound that might have been shock. Your friend pursues destructive weather phenomena for entertainment? Sure. Lots of people do storm chasing. There are websites where you can watch them live. Professor Yilnara was typing quickly on her computer. What about natural disasters? Oh, we have earthquakes that can split the ground open and knock down buildings. Volcanoes that can cover entire areas with ash and block out the sun for months. Floods that can wash away whole towns. Wildfires that burn for weeks and cover thousands of square miles. And your people evacuate when these events occur? Asked Threxmol. Sometimes. But lots of people stay. Firefighters run toward the fires to stop them. Rescue workers go into earthquake zones to help people. My Uncle Pete was a storm spotter for years. He would drive out into severe weather to report on it. The professor pulled up what looked like a database on the main screen. I am accessing Earth's planetary data file. Her eyes grew wide as she read. This cannot be correct. What does it say? Asked Vexani Warrior. According to this data, Earth experiences Category 5 hurricanes, magnitude 9 earthquakes, active volcanism, temperature ranges from -50 to +50 degrees, poisonous snakes, large predatory mammals, disease-carrying insects, and regular meteor impacts. Jake nodded. That sounds right. Although the meteor impacts are pretty rare. Maybe one big one every few million years. You consider massive extinction-level events to be rare? Professor Yilnara looked like she might faint. Well, they do not happen very often. Most people never worry about them. What about the dangerous animals? Asked Kexalon. Oh, we have lots of those. Bears that can be 12 feet tall when they stand up. Sharks with teeth like knives. Poisonous spiders and snakes. Mountain lions that hunt people. But most of them avoid humans unless you bother them. Most of them, repeated Gluub slowly. Well, sometimes people go camping in areas where bears live, or swimming where there might be sharks. My cousin Amy goes hiking in places where there are mountain lions. She just makes noise so they know she is coming. Professor Yilnara was staring at her computer screen. According to this classification algorithm, Earth scores as a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest possible danger rating. The entire classroom erupted in shocked voices. Students were talking over each other, asking questions and staring at Jake like he was some kind of miracle. "That is impossible," said Threxmol. "No intelligent species has ever evolved on a Deathworld." "But I am here," said Jake simply. "And there are billions of humans on Earth. We have cities and schools and families just like everyone else." Professor Yilnara stood up slowly. "Class dismissed. I need to contact the Galactic Science Council immediately." As the students filed out of the classroom, Jake heard them whispering to each other. Words like Deathworld, impossible, and how are they still alive followed him down the hallway. Jake was starting to realize that maybe Earth was not as normal as he had always thought, and maybe being human was something more special than he had ever imagined. The next week brought combat training, and Jake found himself standing in the largest room he had seen yet on the station. The combat training hall had soft mats covering the floor and walls lined with different types of weapons. Punching bags hung from the ceiling, and training dummies stood in neat rows. Commander Zethkar walked into the room followed by 3 other instructors. One looked like a giant insect with 4 arms. Another was covered in thick fur and walked on legs like tree trunks. The third instructor was thin and moved like water with skin that seemed to change color as Jake watched. "Today you learn to fight," announced Commander Zethkar. "Combat is the heart of military training. You will face hand-to-hand combat, weapons training, and tactical exercises. Those who cannot fight cannot protect the galaxy." The commander pointed to different areas of the room. "Split into pairs. You will spar with each other to show your natural fighting ability." Jake looked around nervously. Most of his classmates were much larger than him. Threxmol stood 7 feet tall with muscles like rocks. Vexani Warrior had arms as thick as Jake's legs. Even Kexalon, who was made of crystal, looked like he could crush Jake without trying. "Human Jake Miller," called Commander Zethkar. "You will spar with Threxmol." Jake heard several students make worried sounds. Threxmol was known as one of the best fighters from his homeworld. His people had conquered 12 star systems through pure combat skill. Threxmol walked over to Jake with a grin that showed very sharp teeth. "Try not to die too quickly, soft-world human. I will make it fast so you do not suffer long." They stepped onto the center mat. The other students gathered around to watch. Jake could hear them placing bets on how quickly the fight would end. "Begin," said Commander Zethkar. Threxmol charged forward like a truck. He was fast for someone so big, but Jake had been wrestling since middle school. He stepped to the side and used Threxmol's momentum to throw him past. It was a move his high school wrestling coach had taught him. Threxmol hit the mat hard but rolled and came back up quickly. "Clever, but that will not work twice." They circled each other. Threxmol was more careful now, but he was also angry. He swung a massive fist at Jake's head. Jake ducked under it and grabbed Threxmol's arm, using a judo throw his friend Danny had shown him. Again, Threxmol hit the mat, but this time he looked surprised instead of angry. "Where did you learn to fight?" asked Threxmol as he got back to his feet. "High school," said Jake. "I was on the wrestling team for 4 years, and my friend Danny does mixed martial arts, so he taught me some moves." "Your schools teach combat?" "Some of them. Wrestling, boxing, martial arts. They are popular sports." Threxmol attacked again, but now Jake was ready. He had fought bigger opponents before. Danny was much larger than Jake, and they sparred together all the time. Jake used his speed and the techniques he had learned over the years. The fight lasted much longer than anyone had expected. When Commander Zethkar finally called time, both Jake and Threxmol were breathing hard, but Jake was still standing and had scored several good hits. "Impressive," said the commander. "Human Jake Miller, explain your fighting training." Jake wiped sweat from his face. "Well, I did wrestling for 4 years in high school. That teaches you how to control someone bigger than you. My friend Danny does mixed martial arts, which is like combining different fighting styles. And my dad taught me some boxing when I was younger. Your people train children to fight? Asked the insect-like instructor. Sure. Lots of kids do sports like wrestling, boxing, or martial arts. It teaches discipline and keeps you in shape. Some people do it their whole lives. Commander Zethkar made notes on his tablet. What about weapons training? Oh, I know how to use guns. My father, Tony, taught me to hunt when I was 12. Most people in my town own firearms. The room became very quiet. Gluub spoke first. Your people arm civilians with weapons? Of course, for hunting, sport shooting, and protection. There are shooting ranges where people practice for fun. My sister Kate can hit a target from 300 yards with her rifle. Your sister, said Threxmol slowly, is trained in long-range combat? She is a really good shot. She learned from our grandfather, who was in the military. He said everyone should know how to defend themselves. The furry instructor stepped forward. How common is this weapons training among your people? Jake thought about it. Pretty common, I guess. Maybe half the people I know own guns. Some people collect them as a hobby. Others use them for their jobs, like police officers or soldiers. Police officers, repeated Commander Zethkar. These are civilians who carry weapons to maintain order? Yes, sir, they have to be trained in combat and weapons use. Some of them are really tough. My neighbor Ben was a police officer for 20 years. He had to fight criminals and chase down bad guys. And soldiers? My uncle Mike was in the army. He served in 3 different wars. He said the training was hard, but it made him strong. When he came back, he became a firefighter. A firefighter, said Kexalon. The ones who run toward fire. Right. Uncle Mike said after facing combat, running into burning buildings was not so scary. At least the buildings do not shoot back. The instructors were all talking to each other in low voices. Jake caught words like militarized population and combat-trained civilians. The weapons training that followed was even more surprising to his instructors. Jake showed familiarity with projectile weapons, explaining safety rules his father had taught him. He talked about hunting trips where he had to track animals through difficult terrain and make accurate shots under pressure. During the tactical exercise, Jake mentioned that humans had been launching people into space using controlled explosions for over a century. My grandmother's generation were astronauts, he said. They knew there was about a 1 in 50 chance of dying, but they volunteered anyway. They said exploration was worth the risk. They voluntarily traveled in primitive spacecraft with high mortality rates, asked the water-like instructor. Someone had to be first. That is how humans learn new things. We try, even if it is dangerous. When the training session ended, Commander Zethkar called Jake over to his desk. Human Jake Miller, I'm beginning to understand that your species is not what we first believed. Tell me, why do humans engage in so many dangerous activities? Jake thought about the question. I guess because challenges make us stronger. When you overcome something difficult, you grow as a person. And when people face danger together, it brings them closer. Like my friend Ryan, who chases storms. He does it because it is exciting, but also because the other storm chasers become like family. And the humans who run toward danger to help others. That is just what you do. If someone needs help, you help them. Firefighters, police officers, soldiers, rescue workers. They know it is dangerous, but someone has to do it. My dad always said that good people protect those who cannot protect themselves. Commander Zethkar made more notes. I think, Human Jake Miller, that we need to learn much more about your species. The galaxy may have seriously underestimated what humans are capable of. As Jake walked back to his room that night, he passed groups of students talking in excited whispers. He heard his name mentioned several times, along with words like Deathworld warrior and impossible species. Jake was starting to realize that maybe being human was something the galaxy had never seen before, and maybe that was not a bad thing. 2 weeks later, Jake was called to the Academy Director's office. He had never been to this part of the station before. The hallways were wider here, and the walls were covered with pictures of famous battles and important alien leaders from across the galaxy. The office door was massive, made of some kind of dark metal with symbols carved into it. When Jake knocked, a voice told him to enter. Admiral Karthus sat behind a desk that was almost as big as Jake's entire room. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to glow in the light. Her eyes were completely black, and when she looked at Jake, he felt like she could see right through him. Behind her stood 3 other aliens in military uniforms. One was taking notes on a tablet, another was recording everything with some kind of device. The third just watched Jake with eyes that seemed very interested. "Sit down, human Jake Miller," said Admiral Karthus. Her voice was smooth but serious. "We need to talk." Jake sat in the chair across from her desk. It was much fancier than anything else he had seen on the station. "Your stories about Earth have caused quite a stir," the Admiral continued. "The Galactic Science Council has requested a full report on your species and your homeworld. They want to know if humans represent a threat or an opportunity." "I am not sure I understand," said Jake. "I have just been telling people about home. Yes, and what you have told them has shocked the entire galaxy. A species that evolved on a Class 12 Deathworld, a population trained in combat from childhood, civilians who own military weapons, people who seek out danger for entertainment. Admiral E. Karthus touched a button on her desk and the wall behind her lit up with a giant screen. Pictures appeared showing Earth from space. "Show me your world, human Jake Miller. Help us understand what we are dealing with." Jake pulled out his phone. "I have some pictures if that would help." "Yes, show us." Jake scrolled through his photos and found one of his brother Sam surfing. "This is my brother. He rides waves on a board." The Admiral and her assistants leaned forward to look at the small screen. When they saw the picture of Sam riding a 30-foot wave, one of the assistants made a sound like a small scream. "How tall is that wave?" asked the Admiral. "Maybe 30 feet. Sam likes the big ones. He says they are more fun. Your brother voluntarily places himself in front of a 30-foot wall of moving water for entertainment. Sure, lots of people. Surf. It is a popular sport. You should see the competitions on TV." Jake scrolled to another picture. "This is my sister Kate rock climbing." The picture showed Kate hanging from a cliff face with nothing but rope and her own strength keeping her from falling hundreds of feet to the rocks below. "She climbs vertical rock faces without safety equipment?" "Well, she has ropes and stuff. But yeah, she has been doing it since college. She says it clears her mind." The assistant who was taking notes was writing very fast now. Jake found more pictures. His family's camping trip to Alaska where they had encountered grizzly bears. His cousin Amy whitewater rafting down dangerous rapids. His friend Ben skydiving out of an airplane. Each picture caused more shocked reactions from the Admiral and her staff. "This is normal behavior for humans?" asked the Admiral. "Pretty normal. Everyone has hobbies. Some people like safe things like reading or watching movies. Others like more exciting stuff. And your military forces?" Jake thought about that. "They are really good, I think. My Uncle Mike served in 3 wars. He said the training was tough, but it prepared them for anything. They have to be ready to fight in any environment, from deserts to jungles to mountains. They train to fight in multiple environments that would kill most species." "I guess so. Earth has lots of different places. If you are going to be a soldier, you have to be ready for all of them." Admiral Karthus was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Why do humans help each other in dangerous situations?" Jake was surprised by the question. "Because that is what you do. When someone is in trouble, you help them. My dad always said that we are all in this together. Even when helping puts your own life at risk? Especially then. The firefighters who ran into the burning towers during the September 11th attacks knew they might not come out. But there were people inside who needed help. That is more important than being safe. Tell me about these firefighters." Jake thought about how to explain it. When buildings catch fire, firefighters run inside to save people. They wear special gear, but they still face extreme heat, smoke, and the danger of the building collapsing. They do it because someone has to. And this is a common profession on your world? Every city and town has firefighters, and police officers and paramedics and search and rescue teams. When disasters happen, people volunteer to help even if they are not trained professionals. The Admiral made a gesture, and one of her assistants, stepped forward with a larger tablet. "We have been contacted by several member species of the Galactic Council. They want to know if Earth wishes to join the galactic community." Jake blinked in surprise. "Really? Your species has impressed many leaders, a people who can survive on a death world, who train for combat from childhood, and who willingly face danger to help others would be valuable allies." What would that mean? Trade, technology sharing, cultural exchange. Earth would have a voice in galactic affairs. But there are also those who fear humans. They worry that a species capable of thriving on a death world might be too dangerous to trust. Jake felt a weight of responsibility he had never expected. "I am just one person. I cannot speak for all humans." "No, but you have shown us what humans are capable of. Your casual stories about everyday life on Earth have revealed a species unlike any we have encountered." The Admiral stood up and walked around her desk. "I am recommending that Earth be fast-tracked for galactic membership. The galaxy needs people who are willing to face danger to protect others." "What happens now?" "Now you continue your training, but you will also serve as an unofficial ambassador for your species. Help us understand humans better, and perhaps help humans understand that they are something special in this galaxy." As Jake left the Admiral's office, he felt excited and nervous at the same time. He had come to the academy just wanting to learn and maybe become an officer. Now he was representing all of humanity to the galaxy. He walked back to his dorm room, thinking about his family back on Earth. His parents, his siblings, his friends. They were all just living their normal lives, not knowing that the galaxy thought they were some kind of super warriors from a death world. When he got to his room, Jake called home on his communication device. His little brother Kevin answered, covered in mud from playing in the backyard. "Hey Jake, how is space school?" "Pretty good, Kevin. How are things at home?" "Great. Dad and I went hiking yesterday and we saw a bear. It was awesome." Jake smiled. "Just a normal day on the death world," he said to himself. "What did you say?" "Nothing, Kevin. Just that I miss you guys." "Miss you too. When are you coming home?" "A few years. But I think I might be bringing some friends to visit." Kevin grinned. "Cool. Can they play football?" Jake laughed. If the galaxy thought humans were tough now, wait until they met a 10-year-old who thought encountering bears was awesome and wanted to play tackle football with alien visitors. "We will see, Kevin. We will see."